In today's video, I'm going to be talking about what I'm most excited about in the upcoming D&D rules changes. This video is sponsored by Nimble, the fast tactical RPG, now a back kit, more on them later. Greetings gamers, I'm Anto and I'll give you advantage on DMing roles, and today I want to talk about some of the things that I'm most excited about with the upcoming rules refresh for D&D. Now, we've had a bunch of preview videos for the new player's handbook now, and there's been a ton of info in there that's got me really excited for the 2024 update to D&D 5th edition, and I want to talk about that today. I'm going to break this video down into a couple different sections. I'm going to start off with the things that I'm actually concerned about, because I want to give you a unbiased as possible look at this, and there are some concerns that I have about these changes. So we're going to start at the top with those, and then we're just going to go through and talk about some of the cool stuff that I think is coming to 5th edition and why I'm excited about it. So for things that I'm concerned about, a lot of the content here is kind of straight up ported from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. It's not actually as new as it might first appear, or as they say it is. I've seen a lot of, oh, this is basically a new class, and then in the actual description it's,
oh yeah, we copied all of these features from optional rules in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
It's not really, yeah, it's a new class compared to 2014, but it's not new in terms of the way that you have been able to play this class in officially published material for the last, 4 years now. Tasha's came out in 2020, I think. God, I have no concept of time anymore. But that whole approach of, this is a new thing, asterisk, compared to the 2014 printed version, I found that to be a little lackluster. That being said, if that means that a lot of this Tasha's Cauldron of Everything kind of stuff makes it over to the new SID 5.2, and that gets put into Creative Commons, I'll be happy. Another thing I don't know how I feel about is all of the classes getting their subclass at level 3. I understand it from a design perspective. It unifies the classes. It puts everyone on the same playing field. It makes it very easy to know when you're going to get your stuff. From a kind of mechanics point of view, all makes sense. But I'm really interested to see what they do with that on a narrative level for some of the classes like Warlock, Paladin, Sorcerer, who typically get their powers at first level. You know, a Sorcerer gets their power through blood. They've had that their entire life. A Warlock gets their power by making a deal with some other entity, and that's where their power comes from. So if they don't get that deal until level 3, what are they for those first 2 levels? Same with the Paladin who swears the oath. Before they've sworn the oath, what are they? I'm really interested to see how they kind of narratively handle that disconnect. Because as I said, I'm fine with mechanically them all getting at level 3. It's just going to turn level 3 into the new level 1, even more so than it used to be. I think if you've any experience with 5th edition, you're just going to start at 3rd level forever. And especially with the more guidance that they've said they're going to give for starting at higher levels, we will see even less level 1 and level 2 play for anyone that isn't brand new to the system. There's a weird narrative disconnect there that I'm interested to see how they're going to resolve. Another thing that mildly concerns me, and I won't know how much until we see what they do with monsters and the DMG and a bunch of the kind of secondary and tertiary systems, but with so much tweaking to the player action economy, like a lot of classes are getting options that used to be actions made into bonus actions. A lot of class features are getting buffs. A lot of classes are getting extra features on top of what they used to have access to. Bonus action potions are becoming a kind of core design element. There's a lot more action economy going on for the players now. And my worry is that unless monsters get something to compensate for that, i.e. either the monsters need to just get generally buffed, or more lower level monsters need ways to interact with the action economy beyond what they currently are capable of doing, I feel like the player characters are going to feel much more powerful than they ever have before. 5th edition often gets accused of feeling like a fantasy superhero game because the players are quite powerful, especially in comparison to some of the older editions, you know, kind of old school D&D pre-3rd edition. So it's a fair accusation, but I think unless the designers do something with the monsters, that's only going to get worse. For the players, it will feel awesome, but unless the designers have done something to account for that in the new encounter building mechanics and the new monster design ethos, we could see that gap widen, and we could see this perception of D&D being a hard game to build encounters for get even worse. As it stands, under the current rules, I actually don't think D&D is a hard game to make encounters for if you actually follow the rules that they give you. And I'm going to talk about that in an upcoming video, how D&D encounter building actually works when you follow the rules, and most people are just doing it wrong. So if you want to see that when it drops, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Before we dive into the full list of things that I'm excited for, I've got a couple of honorable mentions. First off is the art. I have been so impressed with the artwork that's been shown off so far for the new player's handbook. Pretty much all of it has been absolutely gorgeous, and the just general presentation and layout of the spreads that they've shown has looked really nice. I'm so excited to get my hands on a physical copy of the book. I think that this will be probably the first edition where reading the book itself is going to be more useful than D&D Beyond. I know D&D Beyond has only existed for 5th edition, but in 3rd edition we had D20 SRD, but D&D Beyond has been easier to use than the physical books throughout 5th edition's lifespan. And the more stuff that gets added to D&D Beyond, actually the harder D&D Beyond has become to use in terms of its search functionality. So I'm hoping that the new layout and stuff with the new books, the books will actually just be easier to use for reference than D&D Beyond. And I'm also excited for the fact that this is an intentional design pass on all elements of the game. I have maintained for a long time now that 5th edition has always seemed to me to be a very reactionary rule set, written quite in haste post 4th edition. I know that the D&D Next playtest felt like it was quite a long period, but when you look at the period of time of 4th edition came out, there was a couple of years, then we got 4th edition Basic, Essentials, 4th edition Essentials, and then there was a couple of years and it was D&D Next. So it feels as though ever since 4th edition dropped, the writers were just constantly trying to iterate, and I don't want to say fix 4th edition, because everything I've read of 4th edition I've actually really liked. But it seems like as soon as 4th edition dropped, the design team was immediately into that we need to do something different mindset. And the 2014 5th edition rule set has always felt to me very reactionary. There's so much assumption in those books that the person reading it knows what D&D is, because these are books designed for 4th edition players. These are books designed to say, hey, we know you're not happy with 4th edition. Here's an edition that you will be happy with. Hey, we know that you never picked up 4th edition and you're still playing 3.5. Here's a new edition to skip over that one. The 2014 books felt very much like a reactionary is the only way I can kind of describe it. That it never felt like they sat down and really intentionally thought out a lot of the things within the book. That's why there's so many like idiosyncrasies throughout the text. So I'm really looking forward to them getting the chance to sit down, look at the whole landscape of 5th edition and go, right, what is the intention for all of these things? And to make changes to the entire scope of the rules so that we end up with the 5th edition that I think that we probably should have gotten in 2014, and that I think under different circumstances the designers probably would have liked us to have had in 2014. Before we dive into the things that I'm looking forward to about the 2024 D&D rules, I want to talk about today's sponsor, Nimble 5e. If you're thinking of taking the upcoming D&D rules change as an excuse to switch systems and you want a new heroic fantasy system to check out, then you should absolutely take a look at Nimble, a new system that aims to be fast-paced, tactical, and compatible with all of your favourite 5e books. Nimble started out as a popular stripped-down version of 5e, but has grown into its own dedicated system. Like a lot of heroic fantasy games, Nimble is built around an action point system where you get 3 actions to use each turn. In Nimble, your hit roll is baked into the damage dice, so when you roll a 1 on your damage dice, that is a miss, but all other results deal damage, but I think my favourite part of the attack resolution mechanic is the exploding criticals. If you score a crit, so roll the highest number on your damage dice, you get to roll another damage dice, and if you score a crit on that one, you get to roll another damage dice, and you get to do that as many times as your luck manages to last. I love exploding dice mechanics, so this already gets a big thumbs up from me, but it also adds a really interesting design space element to weapons, where the weapons that would typically do less damage, like a dagger, are way more likely to crit, representing being easier to find the gap in the armor to slip the knife into. There's a ton of other little tweaks to the rules that I think are really neat, like being able to interpose yourself and jump in front of damage for an ally, a quicker initiative system, a much more condensed character sheet, and a ton more. Pick up a free sample of the rules over on the crowdfunding page. The project is live right now and is already fully funded and started crushing stretch goals. So if you're interested in a new fast and tactical RPG for your next campaign, check it out at the link below. But for now, back to the video. So let's dive into the rules and what part of the rules that I'm really looking forward to seeing. First of all, I'm looking forward to seeing bonus action healing potions become a mainstream part of D&D. This is something that I have been doing as a house rule for a very long time, as have most people. It's just a really good use of the action economy. I understand that people are like,
well, it would take more than a bonus action. It should be a full action to drink a potion. It's quite an involved process.
I get that if we're going for realism and simulation, but this is also a game, and a game has components and an action economy that needs to be accounted for, and this makes better use of the action economy, and I think that it's just an improvement. I also think that the healing spell changes that we've seen have just been an improvement. More powerful healing spells that encourage clerics and other healing casters to use their healing spells in combat and not just when someone is already down is great. It's one of the weird things about D&D 5th edition is that almost all the time the best time to heal someone in combat is when they are unconscious. So I'm glad that they've buffed healing spells to make it a more attractive option to use your action or your bonus action to apply some healing and get some decent benefit from that, so that you don't just wait until someone goes down. Like I said, with bonus action healing potions, I'm glad that we're going to get more bonus actions and a better action economy in general, with the caveat that I also hope the monsters get a better action economy in general. Otherwise, it's just going to widen that gap of the players feeling like superheroes. I really like the changes to surprise, having it being changed to when you are surprised you get disadvantage to initiative. Much cleaner, much simpler, much quicker, and you don't end up just having everyone sitting around. I very rarely see surprise being leveraged against the players because it feels bad to just lose your entire first turn. So getting disadvantage, a nice, simple but effective change. The weapon mastery system, I've been using this in my 5th edition game based on the Unearthed Arcana version, and it's been working really well. It adds a lot of interest to the weapons and makes them a little bit more unique, and is something that we've seen in previous editions and in other game systems, and is just a big thumbs up from me. And also inspiration being a reroll instead of being advantage is something that I think a lot of people ran it that way anyway. Every time we start a 5th edition game, we always have that,
oh wait, how does inspiration actually work? Is it advantage? Is it a reroll? Shall we just do it as a reroll anyway?
And we always have that question. So I'm glad that it is just becoming a reroll. And I'm really interested to see the fact that it's becoming a reroll of any dice roll and not just the D20. That's interesting to me because it means that you've got more scope for using it outside of holding on to it for the D20. Moving on to the new stuff that is coming in the 2024 core rules. I'm really excited for more psionics to be in the rules. Kind of disappointed in the way that they're implementing it. I was hoping to get more of a dedicated psionics system rather than it being kind of just a little sprinkling within subclasses. I was hoping for more dedicated psionics, but I'll take what I can get, and I'm hopeful that it means that in the future we're going to see more. Getting any kind of psionics in the core, the player's handbook, opens us up to, hey, you've tasted the sweet forbidden fruits of psionics. Maybe we'll get a psionic class in a future of everything book. I'm really excited for a change to the crafting rules and for a simplification and a kind of less bullshit version of them, frankly, with new prices that aren't just utterly ridiculous. I'm excited for new monsters that fill in the CR gaps and having more monster families expanded. So more vampire options is one thing that they've talked about, having more vampiric monsters throughout the CR range so that you can use a family of monsters throughout an adventurer's career without having to pick and choose only at certain points. Again, hope that they readdress the balance and the action economy of the monsters, but provided they do, I'll be very happy. All the subclass abilities being mainly a positive change, meaning that they can consistently do their thing more often. For example, the Barbarian Berserker class, is it no longer having so many abilities tied to going down to 0 hit points? Those are all great changes. It seems like almost every subclass has just gotten better, which is really nice if you're a player. And then in terms of usability, like I said at the jump, I'm really excited for a better layout. Things being in more sensible locations in the books, having rules glossaries, and just a generally more intentionally designed physical book that will be a nicer read, especially when it comes to the Dungeon Master's Guide. So things like Chapter 1 of the DMG being the basics, Chapter 2 being running the game, and Chapter 3 being the DM toolbox, instead of what is currently Chapter 1, here's how to create a multiverse. Had to check because I was doubting myself. I'm sorry. Chapter 2 is creating the multiverse. Chapter 1 is just creating a world of your own. So you start Chapter 1 in the current DMG with just creating the whole world. You don't get to the multiverse until Chapter 2. I misspoke. I'm sorry, Wizards. I was wrong. I'm also really excited to see their show and tell approach in the DMG. So the adventure section, for example. So telling you how to build an adventure and then showing you multiple examples with new short adventures built using that framework that they've just laid out. That is an excellent way to kind of build out a DMG, and it's an excellent way to show new DMs how to do things. Also, I'm really excited for all the tracking sheets that we're going to be getting for things like settlements, bastions, magic items, character information, session planners, all of those kind of really usable at the table tools that I think are going to benefit a lot of people. And those are all the things that I am looking forward to in the 2024 rules update. I'd love to know what things you're excited about down in the comments below. And if you want to keep watching, check out this video where I talk about how to get into games that aren't Dungeons and Dragons. But until next time, happy gaming.